joining us this evening. And as Mr. Curtis Funderburg indicated, we're looking forward to our guest speaker this evening. And I have the pleasure of welcoming you all to the general membership meeting. As you know, we were holding our meetings on the first Wednesday of each month at Coppin State University prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. And since that time, we have, along with all of you, have been kind of adapting to doing business via technology, as well as working remotely from our home offices and conducting business and using technology in a magnitude that we haven't in the past. But certainly, as business owners, we know the necessity of adapting to our environment. So here we are. And we thank you for being patient with us as we, as an organization, pivot through this COVID pandemic. There are a lot of exciting things happening in the background. We wanted to start with our committee announcements, and I'm not sure if all of our board members are present. We would like to introduce those board members who are present. And I guess I can go into the participation list to see who they are, or how would I do that? And
yeah,
I can call one. I see that Ed Taylor is present, so I'm going to call on Ed Taylor to just introduce himself and say a few words, and then go down the list. I see John Green and Lindsay Peel. So we will just ask each board member who's present to introduce him or herself, starting with Mr. Ed Taylor. Okay, thank you. So,
okay.
So Ed, can you hear us, Ed? You may be on mute, okay. Lindsay.
Yes, ma'am, good evening.
This is Barry Hampton, can you hear me?
Yes, Barry Hampton, go ahead and introduce yourself, thank you.
I'm Barry Hampton, board member. I've been spending all day just trying to get on here, so I'm so happy. I don't know what to say now. So
you have the floor.
I understand the 20-some people on already, right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm Barry Hampton, and I'm secretary for NANO and board member. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we see Adam Jackson just popped in. Adam, you want to say hello?
Hey everyone, how y'all doing?
All right, say who you are, Adam. We know who you are.
This is Adam Jackson, Chief Executive Officer, Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle.
And member of the board of the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I totally forgot about that. Yes.
Don't forget now. All right. John Green?
Yes, good evening. I'm John Green. I am the marketing chair for the chamber as well as a board member. Glad to be here.
Okay, good to see you. We're not going in any particular order. I saw Lindsay Peel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, ma'am. First, I want to thank you all for being here. It's definitely a pleasure to see so many amazing participants here. We appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to come and be educated with us. My name is Lindsay Peel. I have the honor of serving as the Vice President of the Board of Directors for the Chamber, as well as the co-chair of membership. So again, thank you. And we hope that you are able to get full off the meat of this presentation and that you're able to take something to share with someone else.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And let me take another peek to see who's in the room. All right. I see we have some committee members in the room.
Deborah,
Yes, sir.
our newest member, our newest board member, Charmaine Davis, is that official?
Well, it's not official, but I'm confident it will be.
Okay.
Charmaine, you want to say hello?
So thank you for putting me on the spot, Mr. Curtis.
She's a
Miss Deborah politely said no.
But she is she's our nominee, and
Absolutely.
we're expecting great things.
Absolutely.
Thank you, even though I'm the unofficial member. So, nice to see everyone. I'm happy to be a part of it.
He talks like she's been a board member forever. Yep.
She's been very, her contributions have been great, and we're
Absolutely.
Thank
forward
you.
to making it official.
All right, thank you.
All right, so I think,
By the way, Charmaine's going to be one of the spotlights, so Charmaine, you'll have more time to introduce yourself, but we did want to say hello.
so Ed Taylor, we see that you're in the room. Are you able to say hello to us yet? Okay, he's probably getting used to the technology, but he is here. I'm going to say hello on his behalf. And did I miss anyone? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Hey, peace. Good afternoon, everybody. Terrence Dixon.
Hi, Terrence. How are you? Good to see you.
Awesome. Good to be seen.
Okay, excellent.
All right.
And I'm Kimya Naru Dennis. I'm a new member.
Thank you. Good to
Welcome,
meet you.
Kenya.
All right. Any more new members in the house?
Hey, brother Lamont Randall. Yeah, I love you all.
Well, thanks for the love. You know, we need a lot more of that.
Amen. Hello, how old you are, Lamontre?
That's our
27 years old.
Just wanted to make that clear. I like to hear from our millennials that bring us that energy. We appreciate the wisdom of our seasoned entrepreneurs, and we really appreciate the energy that our younger entrepreneurs who are doing great things. So here at the Chamber, we strive to bring in those energies together. And so I want to just say welcome. I'm Kendrick Tillman. I serve as the president of the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce. And as you see in the background, where our power is in our unity and the strength is in the numbers. So we would welcome you all. And I'm excited to have Dr. Wallace as our keynote this evening. He's going to bring you a powerful message. And I'm just excited as you send out that link to any entrepreneurs that have the next minute and a half to join in with us. Please do so on your social media or your email blast. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendrick.
So Kendrick, this is Curtis. So we're just getting started. We were able to introduce our board members and just say hello to a few people. And we didn't really get into committee business. I don't think we have any official committee business tonight. So if there's anything from you, Deborah, or from Kendrick that you want to say before we jump into the introduction of the speaker.
I'd like to welcome Kendrick so that he can, take the helm.
Great. And then in terms of, how we're going to interact tonight, if you guys can put your questions in the chat, we'll answer questions through the chat. If you have the ability to raise your hand, it looks like, I'm not sure if you do or not here, because I clicked on it and I didn't see it pop up. But if you click on your participant, you should be able to raise your hand. If that function is not available, we'll do it through the chat. And we'll see if we can have people speak up. I may mute everyone from time to time and then unmute you when you need to speak. And then we'll kind of go from there.
can I just ask one thing before we
Absolutely.
start?
Absolutely.
And we would also like, we usually have a sign-in sheet when we have our general membership meetings. And we would like to ask if you would use our chat to just sign in, or just, give us your name and your email address so that we can, know who's here and have your information as part of our assets. Thank you. That's all I have to say at this juncture.
Perfect, perfect. So we're moving pretty quickly, so we should have plenty of time to answer questions. But the basic agenda for the night is that we'll introduce our esteemed speaker. And we actually have two spotlights tonight, two business spotlights. We have a brand new member, Nikita Lee, who owns Lee Tax Solutions. He's already recruited a couple other members to the chamber. So we'll spotlight her, and then we'll also spotlight Charmaine Davis, who owns Hartford Business Center. Both of those are key in this environment because people are looking for ways to prepare themselves if they haven't already gotten funding through PPP or other means, grants and so forth. This gives a couple of our members an opportunity to share what they do in an effort to be available to people if they need that type of service. And then we'll do our traditional member announcements and also our member pitch. So that's sort of how this evening will go. So if Deborah and Kendrick, if you don't have anything, can introduce Mr. Wallace and discuss his, first go through his bio and formally introduce him.
Perfect.
If I just may say one minute of words, and I'll just hand it right over to you for those that I see that are new members. I just want to give you a brief history of the chamber. We are now 13 years old. And when you think of a chamber, you may ask, well, why do I need to be a part of a chamber? And I always ask in these there are three capacities a chamber works in. One is legislation. We all know that there are issues that can only be solved by legislation. Therefore, we ask you to know who your elected officials are that live in the district where you live, as well as where your business may reside if they aren't the same location. And we use our center of influence to help bills get passed that can affect our businesses in a positive way, or we can defend off a negative bill that will affect our business in a negative way. So the first thing about a chamber is legislation and how we can impact and influence the policy to benefit or fight off threats that may come forward. The second thing is that 2% of businesses in the whole country only have more than one employee. So here at the chamber, we try to remove the word networking and really focus on relationship building and then capacity building, so we can refer business to each other and do joint ventures together, as we had a joint venture today with Neo Technologies. My company will be doing some marketing for them. And so we want to encourage the relationship building and the capacity building so we can scale our businesses. And then the third thing I would say is that some of our constituents here at the chamber are nonprofits. So we want to make sure that we can support our nonprofits to further their mission as they move forward, as we come together where we feel that it is strength in numbers and power and unity. And lastly, I want to say thank you, because we did our first live about 10 minutes ago, or 15 minutes before this meeting started, a live on our Instagram that brought in some people to the meeting tonight. So I want to thank those that were just aware of the, oh, wait a minute, that's the chamber going live on Instagram. And we were able to bring forth those members that didn't have this on their calendar and saw value in hearing from Dr. Wallace this evening. So with that, I want to turn it over to our treasurer so he can give a formal introduction for my fellow Poly alumni and good friend, Dr. Bob Wallace.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Kendrick, thank you for that. And, and just thank you for the great job that you do in terms of promoting the chamber and making sure the word gets out and just representing us in a professional way that makes a huge difference for our members. So really quickly, maybe not so quickly, I'll give you a brief introduction of our keynote speaker tonight. So Dr. Wallace is an internationally known entrepreneur, author, business consultant, and keynote speaker. He has more than 30 years of industry experience spanning engineering, energy, IT, executive consulting. Bob leverages his expertise in education to inspire and educate entrepreneurs, executives, and audiences around the world. Bob leverages his experience to establish and lead 3 companies: Bith Group Technologies Incorporated, an IT service provider; Bith Energy Incorporated, an energy services company; and through robertwallace.com, Interteach Learning Systems LLC, which offers web-based training for women and minority business owners. Bob has published 5 books on wealth creation, strategic partnerships, emerging markets and entrepreneurships, and he's busy writing several more. As a matter of fact, this bio might be a little old because I know he has at least 6. His books address the challenges faced by small disadvantaged businesses and entrepreneurs with an insightful approach to what makes his writing equally compelling to large corporations and entrepreneurial spirit, with an entrepreneurial spirit. Currently, Bob serves as an affiliate professor of business at Loyola University Selinger School of Business, where he lectures on innovation and the global economy. And lastly, Bob has served as the chair of the State of Maryland Information Technology Board, the Governor's Advanced Technology Commission, Small Business Task Force, Minority Business Task Force, the City of Baltimore Mayor's Coalition of Supplier Diversity and Inclusion, and the chair of the President's Roundtable, a results-driven organization made of 20 companies that strive to improve the community through small, medium, and large businesses working together. So I present to you Mr. Wallace.
You may, okay, there we go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
you
sir.
Guys hear me okay? I see. Yeah. Raise your hands. Yeah. Yes. Okay, good. I see a lot of friends, which I'm not surprised. I mean, I see Ron. Ron, what's up, man? How you doing? Good to see you, brother. Al, Derek. I can't see everyone. Erica. There's a couple of folks I've known a long, long time, and just great to be part of your organization, part of your program tonight. So what I wanted to do was, and Kendrick, I'm gonna need your help. So I wanted to kind of give you, when I talked with Deborah and Curtis and Kendrick about what we talk about tonight, you know, the COVID environment it's really changed the world. It has changed how we do things. It changed how we work with each other, how we look at one another, and it's going to change it for a long, long time. And so we felt that we wanted to have a conversation with Black businesses, Black entrepreneurs who will be the leaders and who will drive the economy of our Black businesses in America because of COVID-19, almost half, one half. So this is serious business, folks. And when I think about what's it going to take for those of us who are still left, who are still surviving, to survive, it is these kinds of forums and these kinds of events that I think we can share information and help one another. So that's why I think this is timely. And when your leadership asked me to share that my thoughts, I jumped at the idea. I know we're all very busy. I'm very busy, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Some of you already know, like Al. I think Al knows, and Ron may know, and Dirk might know too. I'm running for mayor of Baltimore, and we got to change things. And so, you as entrepreneurs, you are the leaders that's going to change things. And so that's why I'm delighted to be able to be with you tonight. So Kendrick, I want to if I can share my screen now, Kendrick, is that okay? Can you guys see me? Can you guys see me, Kendrick? Can you guys see my presentation?
Hang on a second. Let me get that going here.
Or do I press share screen, Kendrick?
Yes. Go ahead. Yeah, press share.
Let me try that. Let me try that. See if I can do that. Okay. All right. I'm going to share screen. Okay, how's that? Can you see me? Can you see my presentation?
Can you hear me, Mr. Wallace?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So we have everyone muted, so that's why you can't hear them.
Oh, no worries. So can you see my presentation?
All right. Hang on just a second. Let me make sure. If I can get you here. Speaker screen. So go ahead one more time. Try sharing your screen.
Okay. Let me do that. Let's see. I'm going to do share screen. Okay.
By the way, if you are muted, you can unmute yourself. There was just some background noise there that was getting in the way.
Yes, we can see it.
You see it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. So what I've done, I prepared a few thoughts for you this evening, and then I wanted to, and then Kendrick will lead us in a Q&A session that I think will be hopefully be productive. So Kendrick, I want to ask a question. And Kendrick, I'm not sure if you can do it through chat or show of hands or whatever, but I want to know how many businesses on the call today are at $1 million per year or less in sales?
Oh, yes. Or less.
How many businesses are doing $1 million or less in sales? I just want to get an idea, Kendrick, of who I'm talking to.
Okay, yes.
Is there a way to either do chat or the other feature on Zoom?
So Kendrick, are you unmuted?
Yeah, I was already unmuted. You muted me again. That's okay. But yes, I would say 80%, maybe 90%.
Okay. All right, Kendrick. And so the other 10% so are
medium-sized businesses that have government contracts that are over 1 million in sales.
Okay, very good, Kendrick. So my other question to the group is, how many of you do business with the government, either city, state, or federal? What percent? Are we talking 80%, 50%?
If I would take a guess, it would be about half and half, 50%.
Okay. So the participants, Kendrick, they could use chat to put in their
and I'm seeing it. I see yes. I'm seeing some yeses from Kevin, Kevin Johnson. Yep.
Okay. So you can let me know, because there's a couple of questions I'm going to ask Kendrick as we go through our time together, and it helps me to understand where the audience is, so I can know how to pivot and as far as what to focus on and what not to. All right. So we're going to talk about how do we get back to the future, right? How do we build our businesses post COVID-19? And so I wanted to give you some thoughts on that and get your perspective. As I mentioned to you earlier, but those of you, I know some of you already know this, but I'm running for mayor of Baltimore, and one of the things that I am pushing in my platform is this wheel that you see in front of you now. I call it the wheel of connectedness. But you notice, though, that one of the key initiatives is economic growth and job growth. And that's the part of the wheel I'm going to focus on with you this evening. I've had other webinars and calls with other groups that look at the other initiatives on this wheel. But you and I, we are entrepreneurs. We're the ones that create jobs. So I want to talk to you about this particular part of the wheel so we can have a perspective. Now, one thing that I know from my personal experience, we've been in business over 25, 26 years. I've been in the industry for over 40 years. And like, I'm not sure how old most of you members are, but I've gone through a number of recessions. I've gone through economic turmoil. I've gone through 9/11.
That kind of death happens, it actually brings people to life. It's almost like a crucifixion and then there's a resurrection. I was reading the scripture.
We ask everybody to mute their line. Please mute your line. Please mute your line.
That's good. Thank you. So one thing, folks, that I've learned is that when there is change in your life and change in society, you go through these phases, right? We go through these phases. So if you look at the diagram, where we are normally, most of us are, it's in the comfort zone, right? That's where we feel safe and we feel in control. But then something happens. You know, a pandemic happens. A great recession happens. 9/11 happens. War happens. There's these tumultuous events that occur in our lives. It could be on a personal level too, but I'm talking about more on a macro level. These things that happen that they just change our lives. They just, change the game. And so when this happens, we tend to move through these zones, right? And so we're in a comfort zone now. Something happens, and our normal sequence is going to the fear zone, right? And the fear zone is we're trying to find excuses why this is happening. We tend to lack confidence in the process. We're impacted by other people's opinions, and that's a big one. I'll come back to that one. That's the fear zone. And then from fear, we go into the learning zone, right? Where we deal with challenges and acquire new skills. And then from there, we get to the growth zone, okay? If we keep growing, we live the dreams, we set new goals, we find purpose, right, in the new environment. Now, my question, Kendrick, to the group is, I want to know today, and maybe we can do this anonymously, I don't know, but I can assure you that all of you fall right now in one of these zones, right? You're either in the comfort zone, you're in the fear zone, you're in a learning zone, or you're in a growth zone. I want to know, where are you? This is a question to the group, Kendrick. Where are you on this spectrum, right? So you can do, if you're in fear zone, just put F. If you're in learning zone, you can put an L, or your growth zone, a G, right? Most of you are probably no longer in your comfort zone, I would bet you. But you might be. But think about that for a second. Where are you in the zone?
I'm seeing a lot of L's in the chat. I'm seeing some G's in the chat.
Okay. Any F's? Because I talk to a lot of businesses who are.
I see a couple F's. Yep, I see an F from Joseph.
Yeah, there are many who are still in the F zone, right? And so what I'm trying to get you to be, hopefully, after we've done this result or this time together, at least start thinking about this, is to get everyone into the G zone, right? The growth zone, because that's where you need to be in order to benefit and leverage the opportunities in the post-COVID-19 environment. All right, it's very, very important. So I want you to see that, because, if you're like me, you kind of go through all zones, at some point, with the idea of you want to get to the growth zone, because that's where you see opportunities. Because see, if you're in the F zone, folks, or even in the learning zone, but definitely in the F zone, when you're in the F zone, it's kind of like playing ball. You guys who played ball, I know Derek played a little ball back in the day, just as I did, right? When you're in the fear zone, you're not at your best. You're nervous, you're not sure if you can go strong, and you're just not at your best. So the idea, folks, is to get you to the growth zone where you can be productive and see the opportunities that exist in front of us. So talking about opportunity, right? So we know, and you all know this intuitively, right? You know that crisis equals opportunity. It really does. Now, President Kennedy in 1959 is quoted as saying the Chinese use two brush strokes to write the word crisis. One stands for danger and the other for opportunity, right? So crisis is the crossing, the intersection of danger and opportunity. Now, the truth be told, folks, okay, just for the record, okay, President Kennedy, or at that time Senator Kennedy, he was wrong. That's not true, okay? If you talk to Chinese experts on Chinese language, they would tell you that isn't true. However, that quote has lasted a long time, so I'm going to go with it, okay? The idea of danger and opportunity, that is what a crisis is. So that's where we are now in COVID-19 or any other crisis. We're at danger and opportunity. And so the key becomes, how do the smart players, the smart entrepreneurs, how do they take the danger, right, and turn that into an opportunity, right? And that's a mindset. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. This guy, you probably remember him, also Rahm Emanuel. He was the chief of staff for President Obama, and then he was mayor of Chicago. And he coined the phrase, and I've used this in my campaigning in the city: never allow a crisis to go to waste. In other words, when there's a crisis, there's an opportunity to change things for the better. But it takes leaders, men and women, that are not afraid, that can see the opportunity and take the lead. And he goes on to say in a recent quote, they were asking about his quote about never allow crisis to go to waste. He said, here's the deal. He said, this has to be the last pandemic that we allow to drive us into an economic depression, which is what this pandemic has done. Think about it, folks. In 3 months, this pandemic has brought the Western world to its knees. Would you have imagined that the greatest countries on the planet have been brought to their knees by a virus? He suggests that this will not be the last virus pandemic, and he's correct. But what we have to do, we who are entrepreneurs, we have to get trained now to be prepared to take advantage of the next pandemic crisis, and there will be another one. It may be COVID 2020, it may be COVID 21 or 28, who knows? But this is just beginning, folks. So we have to change our mindset now as to how we move ahead. And moving ahead is like, your eagle flying into a waterfall. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like every day there's just this enormous changes in the world. I mean, look at the thing now with the murders of African American men at the hands of police, and look at how that revolution has escalated in a couple of days. So the environment that we're in, folks, is like it's like being an eagle, right? But flying into the waterfall, because it's like this constant barrage of change. And so again, we have to be positioned as entrepreneurs to not be afraid of that, not be afraid of it, and be able to fly into the waterfall and still survive. The example I like to use when I talk about playing offense in the middle of a crisis, in this case a pandemic, was my man Michael Jordan. You guys can probably tell I'm a basketball fan. I wasn't as good as Derek was back in the day, but I had a little game. But one of my heroes was Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan, Derek, what did he win, Derek? He like 3-4 championships in the 90s, Derek. Ron, I forget. I mean, but he won a lot of championships. And one thing about Michael Jordan, whenever there was a crisis on the court, whenever their back was against the wall, whenever they needed somebody to take a leadership and rise to the occasion, it was always Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan had this one tactic, and that is attack the basket. I don't care if we're down. I don't care if we're behind. I don't care if the friends are booing us. Michael Jordan would attack the basket. And nobody, in my opinion, attacked the basket better than Michael Jordan. That's the same thing we have to do in business, folks, right? We have to attack the market. We have to attack the customer set. We have to attack the economy and figure out how we can benefit from it. And that's a mindset that we need to have. I need to make that very clear to you because it's very, very important. Because if I talk about the new normal, which is what we're in today, the new normal is, this is not news to you all right? And I call it cause and effect. And here's why I call it that. Because for every cause, for every event, there's an effect, right? And Ron and I went to Poly, we're Poly boys. I think, Al, you go Poly too?
Yes, he did.
Okay, yeah. So, and Derek, and Kendrick, you Poly boy too, right? BPI?
You know it. You
okay.
know it.
Yeah, so am I.
Okay, yeah, Curtis. So cause and effect, right? For every action, there's the opposite and equal reaction, right? So look at the new normal, right? And what I've done here is kind of gone through. I just sat down and looked at my experience with this COVID-19 and what's changing in 3 months, just in three short months, right? So I mean, I'm not going to read the whole list, but I'll say the virus is here to stay. The next one will be worse, right? We're going to see, especially in Baltimore City and in the state of Maryland, and maybe federally, we're going to see tax increases. Why? Because our revenue is down. In Baltimore City, this fiscal year, they're going to be short by 60 million in revenue. Fiscal year 21, they're talking about $103 million deficit. The state of Maryland, looking at a $500 million deficit. So beloved, there's going to be some changes, some possible spending cuts, right? We got crisis of institutions. Look at how our institutions have failed. Our health systems have failed. Our political institutions have failed. Our economic systems, we got 40 million people on unemployment, and that's going to run out very soon. Our economic systems are failing. This is the new normal. Financial insecurity, social distancing, the voting revolution. Did you all vote yesterday? I hope you did.
Absolutely.
Did you see the problems we had? Did you see how difficult it was? You see how much confusion and chaos it is? And we're not done yet. Wait till November, right? So, and you have this law of accelerating returns. What I mean by that, folks, is in the middle of crisis, when there's a new normal, what tends to happen is things that were already in place, if they are going to be beneficial to society, their acceptance, their penetration into the economy, into society, accelerates. They accelerate. I give you an example. So in my business, probably I know that, and probably Derek and Ron's business too, and we've been doing some remote works systems. So we've got IT and engineers and technical people, and we've been playing around with remote working systems. Well, guess what? Because of the pandemic, right? All of our staff are working remotely, right? And guess what? It's working. It's working. So while we were dragging our feet before the pandemic kicked in what we call the law of accelerating returns, right? And it accelerated the acceptance of that technology called remote work, right? And you can go down the list of all the things. I'm on the Board of Regents, University System of Maryland. I think Kendrick may have mentioned that. I'm a regent. Do you know that this pandemic is reshaping how we're going to deliver college education in Maryland, starting next fall? So this new normal is kicked in and it's real. And so what you need to do, and what I need to do, is take these new normal situations and say, how does this new normal affect my business? How does the new normal affect my business? So here's another question for the group. I want to know of this list, right? Tell me which of these changes in your mind is going to impact your business the most. Which of these changes will impact your business the most? And I want to give the group time, Kendrick, to think about that for a second.
And as they put it in the chat, I will just start yelling them out. So as you type in what you want to type,
great, Kendrick.
I'll share.
That's good.
Social distancing forever. That was Tasha. Remote work from Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin said online education and training. Kiki says financial security.
Yep. Amen. Mm-hmm.
Kenneth says long-term social distancing. Dr. Hardwick says continue use of telehealth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Veronica, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Veronica. Your name wasn't all the way there.
That's okay. You know what? I can just, if you just saw what it is, I don't need their names per se, Kendrick.
Got it. Emerging trends.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. You bet. You bet. So there seems to be a good dispersion of the group around these new normals and impacts on the businesses. But nevertheless, I think we agree that this new normal is changing our businesses. We've just invested a lot of money, for example, in PPH, right? And a term I came up with, personal. You've heard of PPE, right? Personal protective equipment. Well, I have a new term, personal protective habits, right? Because we're trying to transition our staff back into being in the office, at least on a part-time basis. And so we've had to hire a firm to come in and do cleaning of the business, viral cleaning. We had to buy a mask and face shields and cleaning gels and all this new requirements, right? Because people are, because of the pandemic, they've come up with these personal protective habits, right? And it's impacting the business. It's impacting how we do business. It's impacting the cost of business. So this is the new normal that all of us are facing, right? So the question becomes, what do we need to do as entrepreneurs, as businesswomen and businessmen, right, to stay relevant in the post-COVID-19 environment? I've already told you that almost one half, not quite one half, but almost, of Black businesses in America have already failed because of COVID-19. So my mission, and I hope yours, is to figure out how can we help our businesses to survive and thrive in that post-COVID-19 environment. And so I want to give you these 6 steps that I've come up with in my consulting businesses and having done this a long, long time, that I want to pass on to you to help you to think about this transition, because we truly are in a transition phase. So you can see the building blocks here. I use pyramids because, last year I went on a 6-month world trip. I think Al knows about this. I took a sabbatical run and went around the world. I'm working on a new book, my new book called Global Entrepreneurship. Got on a ship and we sailed for 6 months around the world. Saw 35 countries, 100 ports of call. Spent a lot of time in Egypt with the pyramids. That was pretty cool. That's why I wanted to use the pyramids, because our people have a history and a legacy of engineering, of science, of innovation, of overcoming obstacles, of fighting forces of evil. That is in our blood. That's what we do. And so I wanted to use that just kind of as a backdrop to make my points. So I want to talk to you now about these 6 pyramids, right? These 6 steps. The first one, I talk about faith and overcoming the fear of the future. Overcoming the fear of the future. What percent, and this is a question for the group, Kendrick. So what percent would you guess, beloved, of the people in society who have a fear of the future? Just take a guess. They've done some studies to look at this, and I want to know what you think. What is your observation? What percent of the population do you think walks around with a fear of the future? And I'll pause a moment and let you think about that, and then comment to Kendrick.
Seeing comments now say one says 90%. I see 70%, 50%, 65%, 25%, 75%, 85%, another 90%, another 85%.
Wow. You guys are sharp, Kendrick. You guys are sharp. It's about 80%. It's about 80%. It's about 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 Americans in particular, right, have a fear of the future. So we know from our anecdotal experience that most people have a fear of the future. And so that's why most people are not successful, because they're afraid of the future. And so they huddle where they are, and they hold on to what they got, and they are afraid of the future. So beloved, what I'm trying to get you to see is that the future is our friend. The future is our friend, but we have to, like Michael Jordan, we've got to go strong to the basket. We got to go strong into the future, and we can't be afraid, right? Doesn't mean you won't get hit and bloodied and bruised, as some of us who've been around a while can tell you. But it does mean that you got to go. You got to go anyway. I used to box back in my youth. I wasn't that good, but I enjoyed it. And I used to go strong. I got beat up a lot, but I learned how to fight. So that was a good thing, right? But I took the bruises in the process. So overcoming the fear of the future. So the first step in overcoming the fear of the future, beloved, is checking how you think. Checking how you think, right? My father had a saying. Dad used to say, and pardon my French here, Dad used to say, if you free your mind, your behind will follow. If you free your mind, your behind will follow. And Daddy used a different 3-letter word for behind that I won't use in this setting, but you get the point, right? If you free your mind, your behind will follow. So the key here is, folks, you got to be careful right now, especially now. So whether you're in the fear zone or learning zone or growth zone, you got to be careful what you are feeding your self-conscious. You got to be careful, like what you're watching on TV. You got to be careful the people that you're hanging around right? I'm gonna tell you something. When this COVID, when this pandemic thing got really started back in March, I was like watching the news like every day, and for hours on a day, right? And then it hit me. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to cut this stuff off, because it was beginning to impact my thinking about business and about my life and about the possibilities. I mean, it's one thing, folks, to be informed, right? To be informed, which we should be. We should be educated. We should be informed. But it's another thing to be psyched out by what's happening. And I was finding, in my case, with this pandemic, I was watching Governor Cuomo every day. I was watching, CNN and the crazy man in the White House. And I said, my God, I got to turn this stuff off, because it was impacting my thoughts, because our thoughts is what drives us into the future. So you really need to pay attention to that reality. And so this is another case study quiz, Kendrick. Now, I may be showing my age here, and I don't know what the age dispersion is, Curtis, of the group. But let me try it anyway. So in the 70s, and I'm a 70s baby, in the 70s, there was a new music form that was created. It was called funk, F-U-N-K. How many of you know about funk, F-U-N-K?
I might be young.
I want to spell it out for you. F-U-N-K, right? Funk, right? It was a mixture. Funk is a mixture of R&B and blues and urban. It was like a precursor to rap, really, in many ways. Now, there were many funk groups in the 70s that came up and did great things. But there were two in particular. And I shared them here. I shared them with you today. One of them was Earth, Wind, and Fire. The other one was Parliament Funkadelic out of Orange, New Jersey, right? Parliament Funkadelic. Now, here's a question for the group. Excuse me. Which of these two groups is still functioning today? So you can do in chat. Tell me what you think. Is it Earth, Wind, and Fire or Parliament Funkadelic? And you can write it in your chat.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I see both. Earth, Wind, and Fire, Parliament, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I can definitely speak from experience being a DJ. Earth, Wind, and Fire is winning. Winning as the president of the Baltimore County African American Cultural Festival when I wanted to book them, and they gave me that $100,000 price.
Yeah, brother. Yes, brother. Yes, I'm going to have them for my my inaugural ball, by the way, and I'm speaking on faith here at this point. But you are exactly right, folks. It's Earth, Wind, and Fire. Now here's the question I want to ask you. So, like Kendrick said, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and that price you got, Kendrick, that's a good price. Their normal price is $250,000 starting.
I was about to say that. That was the discount because we was a nonprofit.
That's right, kid. That's right.
They said it was half off. 125 was half.
That's right. They started at $250,000, right? Okay. You're right. Part of the Funkadelic, as great as they were, right? They've kind of gone into the junk heap of history. You don't hear much about them at all. Earth, Wind, and Fire still going strong. Why? Why do you think? That's the question for the group. Why do you think? What has Earth, Wind, and Fire done? What has Earth, Wind, and Fire done that has allowed them to still remain relevant? To remain relevant, right? 50 years later. 50 years later. What have they done? That's the question for the group. Think about it. And you can put it in your chat. What do you think? What did they do?
I see consistency, adapt to change, diversity, the commercials, they adjusted their marketing,
very good.
They adapted, but kept their style and creativity. They had a diverse audience, they evolved, they adapted, they're a consistent brand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They had, and I want Kendrick, I want to focus on that last one, which was the consistent brand. The consistent brand. So some of you may not know these groups. Maybe you can Google them after we've done this webinar. Okay, Earth, Wind, and Fire had a brand, and the brand was, and Maurice White said this. He said, "I'm only going to produce music that is going to spiritually uplift the listener. I'm not going to produce any music that will take away from a person's spiritual growth." And if you look at all the Earth, Wind, and Fire songs, pretty much, they kept to that brand. They kept to that thing. And that is something they recognized, even when the economy changed and the music genre changed, that need of humanity was still going to be there. And they built their business, they built their brand around that. And that's why, my friends, they are still making money today, right? We can learn from Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'll call it the Earth, Wind, and Fire model, right? So I wanted to share with you as a case study of why that's important. Okay, that's overcoming fear. I'm going to talk to you now about business-friendly policies. And I think in the outset, I heard someone talking about that. I think it was Curtis, or one of you guys, I'm not sure, but business-friendly policies. Okay, why is this important? It's important, beloved, because when we're in a crisis situation, that is when you and I, as entrepreneurs, we can begin to shape the business environment. Because when there's a crisis and chaos and people not sure what to do, they're reaching and for solutions. They're trying to figure out this chaos. And if you come up as a leader, as someone that has good ideas, they're going to latch on to you because you provide them hope. So for example, so we do work, as you guys know, in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. Federal work, we do commercial work too. We've been in the process of working with the city and the state to get them to remove some of the restrictions and simplify regulations that impact small businesses. Because we're saying to them, look, in this pandemic, in this post-pandemic environment, if you want your business to survive, you've got to change the environment, Mr. Customer, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Governor, federal agencies. You've got to change the environment somewhat to allow us to survive. And so that gets into regulations, it gets into tax policies, it gets into they're being willing to adapt emerging technologies. So this is a time for you guys to be aggressive. And if you're doing business with government agencies and you got a relationship with the client, then have these conversations about how they can make you're supporting them, make that easier for you, because they want you to survive. Okay, this is an opportunity that we have in a crisis. Okay, the third pyramid, excuse me, is managing limited resources. Managing limited resources. Now, Kendrick, another question for the group, and I don't need no names. Just want to get a sense of the group. So, COVID-19 is now with us. How many of you has it hurt your cash flow, or has it helped your cash flow? You can just put hurt or help, hurt or help. Has it hurt it, or has it helped it? That's the question for the group.
We gotta help, both help, hurt, both, helped, hurt, hurt, hurt initially and then helped, both, neutral, hurt, both. Both two got me focused, hurt.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a normal response. Someone said it was one in the beginning and then it got to the other. It's probably because the entrepreneur made a shift, but there's some kind of tweaking maybe, or the environment changed. But what we can all agree on is this: that whatever environment we find ourselves in, beloved, cash is king. And you guys have been around, you guys know this. Cash is king. So if I have cash, even when stuff goes crazy, right, I can still survive, and I can live to fight another day. So you really need to be looking at your businesses, and even if it has helped you, because here's the reality: we're not out of the woods yet on this COVID-19 thing, folks. We're not out of the woods. So the government injection of $3 trillion of cash into the economy, it has sustained the economy for a few months. But in the absence of additional stimulus, right, the economy is going to respond. And it's going to respond, in my view, in my humble opinion, in a negative way, in a downward pressure on the economy. So we're not out of the woods yet. So what I'm saying to you then is don't be misled by this, right? You start looking at your business now and saying, how can I conserve cash? How can I conserve cash, right? So I mentioned a couple of things that we go through on a regular basis, right? Looking at overhead, non-essential staff. I'm negotiating now with my banks and saying, you know what, I want a better interest rate, and I want better terms, or I'm going to change banks because now I'm in a negotiating position where I got a little more leverage than I had before. So I'm looking to change my capital structure, right? The other area that I think you all should look at is engaging third-party support services. Now, I've been kind of old school, and by the way, I'm not running a business anymore. I hired a CEO who runs the company. So I'm on the board, but I don't run day to day. But what I do know is that we're looking at third-party services to replace fixed cost resources, like an HR manager and accounting, all those kind of things that you tend to want to have in-house. But in times of reducing your or increasing your cash, it may want to look at third-party support services. And then partnerships. And I'm gonna come to that further in the next pyramid. So these are things that you can do. Reduce or modify work week. That's another thing that the pandemic has really ushered in, right? So we're looking at now, okay, we've always had the traditional American work week, right? 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday and so forth, right? Looking at now though, how can we modify that such that we can reduce our cost? So if I have, for example, more employees working remotely, then maybe I don't need to have the overhead of our headquarters. Or maybe I can shut down some systems there. I can shut down, not run the heat in the winter, or run the AC, or reduce the cleaning services that come in. Whatever. If we went to a 4-day work week or a 3-day work week, right, versus a 5-day. So these are ideas I want to give you in terms of how to conserve cash. The point is, you got to find ways, folks, right now to protect your cash position, because I'm afraid that the economy is going to get worse before it gets better. That's my personal opinion. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it's always better to be prepared and not needed than to need it and not be prepared. So that is cash is king. The next pyramid is the SWOT analysis, and SWOT just simply means strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Now, the SWOT analysis you should do in your company, in my view, you should do it every quarter. We do it every quarter, and we look at okay, strengths, weaknesses. Okay, where we strong, where we weak. So where are the opportunities that we can leverage, and then threats are what prevents us from seizing the opportunities, right? So, in doing that, I want to suggest to you there are a couple of areas your SWOT analysis to consider in your SWOT analysis, right? Things like infrastructure. Has COVID-19, is your structure resilient? Is your cybersecurity systems in place? Is your for remote work? Do you have the right kind of telecommunications pipes to allow your staff to work and to still get the work done? How about your customers? How has that changed? Right? Strengths and weaknesses. Competitors. Do you have more competitors or do you have fewer competitors? Right? Your workforce. Right? How has that changed, and what is that still what it was, or has that changed as well? And then strategic partners, and then banking relationships. We have stronger now because we have more leverage now. So when the PPP came out, and I wanted to ask, and just give me a yes or no. Yes or no. How many of you were successful at getting a PPP loan for your business, and how many were not? Yeah, just a yes or no. Yes if you got it, no if you didn't.
I saw no, yes, 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 no, not needed,
okay,
yes.
That's actually pretty good. That's
Yes.
If that's a representation of the group, that's actually pretty good, because across the country, like 80% of the PPP loans, from what I've read, 80% have gone to non-minority businesses, right? So if you thank God you didn't need it for those who didn't need it, but those who did were able to get it, you were one of the lucky ones in getting that to happen. So again, looking at your SWOT analysis of your company to see how has the pandemic changed your strengths and weaknesses in your business, right? And these are things to consider as you having that conversation and that analysis. So the fifth pyramid I want to talk to you about now is how to pivot, right? Pivot towards new and emerging markets. Pivot towards new and emerging markets. So how many of you have my book on partnerships? And that's a question, Kendrick, yes or no? Is there anybody who has my book on alliances and partnerships? I think
Al has it, Charles has it, it's a few.
Okay. All right. So in my book on partnerships, Kendrick, I talk about pivoting, and my new book does a deeper dive into pivoting. But in my book on partnerships, I talk about how you build your business using this matrix, right? So what you have in front of you is a matrix that I use, and then we teach this to my MBA students. Is the way you grow your business is we create this matrix. And if you look at the bottom left-hand quadrant, the red quadrant, right? That's where you are today, right? You have current customers on your y-axis and business solution on your x-axis. So today, you and I, we have current customers, and we provide the current services or business solution to those customers. Right, so this is what we do today. All of you have customers. that you are providing some kind of service or you're selling them some product, right? You're in the red zone. And that is little risk, no barriers to entry, and your existing reward is what you get. But to grow your business, particularly in a crisis situation or post-COVID-19 situation, you have to start thinking about how do you pivot, right? And either go into the blue quadrant, the yellow quadrant, or the purple quadrant, right? So give me an example. So let's take path 2. Okay, you see path 2 goes into the blue quadrant. So what that means is you're now moving to where you are providing your services today, but you're providing them to a new customer. Okay, your services today, provide them to a new customer. So I'll give you examples of that in the next screen. The path 3 would be you are providing, so you have current customers. You have current customers, but you have found some new products or new services that you can sell your existing customers. That puts you on path 3 into the yellow box or yellow quadrant. The 4th quadrant, which by the way is the most risky one, is you've now found new customers and you have developed new services or products that you're selling to new customers. So you got new customers and you have new services or things you're selling them that you never sold before. That puts you in the purple quadrant, right? High risk, high barriers to entry, but high reward. So this is a question, Kendra, for the group. So if you were to choose which path you want to take right now as you pivot and you start to look for ways to build your business outside of your comfort zone, outside of your red quadrant, which path would you take? And just put down the number 2, 4, or 3.
See 4 from Albert. 2 from Mr. Jones. See a 3. There's a 4. There's a 3, a 2, another 4, a 3, a 3.
Gotcha.
4.
Okay. So here's the thing, folks. So are you 4s? Are you 4s? My advice to you is at this phase of the post-COVID economy that's emerging, unless you got a sure deal, I would avoid path 4 right now. And the reason I say that is that it's going to be highly risky. If you have the capital formation and foundation, and if you have a high degree of certainty of the customer and the solution, then I say go strong and go purple, right? But what I'm advising folks like you, like yourselves, is either go 2 or 3 for right now because they're less risky. They're less risk options, right? And will give you a chance, in my view, it will give you a chance to get your sea legs in this new, either with a new customer or a new product or service that you're offering. Give you a chance to get comfortable with that. And so, but if you have a 4 option that can make sense, then I think that can work. So do you guys follow this model? All right, this is very, very important. This is how you're going to grow your business, right? And there's detail here that I can't go into now, but it's a good model for you to look at and to use to help guide you. Now I'm going to give you some examples, some personal examples, right? So I think some of you know that I have an energy company that does solar and wind, batteries, and microgrid engineering, that kind of thing. So that will be what we are today in the red zone. So what we decided to do in BIF Energy, right, was to go option 3. Option 3 is, it says, we now are in a position where we can sell this lighting, this virus killing lighting, right? That we've got energy customers, current customers, that we were selling solar to or wind or battery engineering to, but we now can sell them virus killing lighting to help them with this pandemic situation, right? That is a number 3 move. That's a move into the yellow zone. The other area that we've pivoted into is number 2, the two path, where we take existing solution, but we sell that solution to a new customer. So one thing you've seen in the new normal, and heaven forbid, I hope and pray none of you have had to bury a loved one during this time. But if you have, or if you know someone who has, you probably have seen that they have restricted funerals. They've restricted how we put away our loved ones because of the virus. So our pivot was, let's now offer our remote telecommunication services, right, to funeral homes. Prior to the pandemic, we weren't looking at funeral homes as a customer, but now that's a potential new customer for us. So I want to give you examples of how this model can be used if you use it to help you pivot into how you can build your businesses and go from there. So I want to give you an example of that, and then I'll move lastly to the last pyramid, and that is to weaponize partnerships and alliances. And people say, Bob, why do you use the term weaponize? Because I'm trying to emphasize the seriousness and the power that exists in alliances and partnerships if you just get comfortable doing them. And that's why I wrote the book, to get entrepreneurs comfortable with engaging in alliances and partnerships. I'm going to talk to you about that, because you're going to need partners and alliances in this new post-COVID environment. My friends, if any of you think that you can make this journey by yourselves, I think you're mistaken. And I would advise you to reconsider that. And I would advise you to make alliances and partnerships a key part of your business strategy. That's why I wrote the book. Because I have learned in my journey, I know in my early days, I tried to be the Lone Ranger. I tried to do it by myself. And I found out very, very quickly and painfully that, okay, I'm smart, but I'm not the smartest guy, right? I had some money, but there are a lot of people who got more money than I have. I got ideas, but there are people who have better ideas. And so I learned that I had to be intentional about building alliances and partnerships, because that is the building block of the new economy. And so that means that you've got to spend time, beloved. You got to spend time dating, right? And you start with the people who are closest to you. So there are, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 people on this call tonight. Start there. Start there. Start with whatever organization that you're in. I was chairman of the President's Roundtable. We started there. I'm involved with CRMSDC. Started there. Wherever is closest to you, start there. But be intentional about looking at finding partners and start the dating process now. Because you're going to need to do this. And this has to be a part of your ongoing business strategy. Your ongoing business strategy. So Kendrick, here's a question again for the group. How many of you are currently in some form of alliance or strategic partnership? And just say yes or no. Yes or no. How many of you today are currently involved in a strategic partnership or alliance?
I see about 90% saying yes. I see a few no's. I think I saw 3 no's, and most everyone said yes.
That's pretty good. That's not what I normally see. That's not what I normally see. Usually it's reverse, right? It's about so this is good. You guys are sharp. You guys are seasoned, and you've kind of been on the block a couple of times. So this is very, very important. This alliances and partnerships. And so I'm suggesting to you that you make it, that you be intentional about who can you work with, who can you build a partnership with. And it doesn't have to be, folks, just another minority business. It could be a majority business, because we have just as many relationships with majority businesses as we do minority businesses. So don't be stuck. Don't be myopic in this. You go with whomever can help you be successful. That's who you work with. And I talk about that in the book. You may have to consider redesigning your corporate structure and governance, right? To make yourself more attractive to other businesses, or to allow you to be able to move quicker to create other opportunities. I'll give you an example. So in the pandemic, in any crisis, beloved, you're going to have winners and losers. Some folks are going to win, some are going to lose, right? But everyone's under pressure right now. They're under pressure. So, but under pressure means opportunity, because we now have companies that under normal conditions would be in a stronger position and a more valuable position. But because of the pandemic, they're now in a weakened position and vulnerable position. Well, when people are vulnerable, when they've been weakened, there tends to be a greater propensity to be open to being acquired, or selling off part of the business, or creating an alliance, right? And we're seeing a lot of energy in that space of businesses that were not able to make the transition, but who're still hanging on, and they're saying, we got to find a godmother or a godfather that we can partner with to help us weather this storm. That is another option for many of us. So I want you to not miss that, all right? But that may require for you to restructure how your business is structured. Maybe you go from an S corp to a C corp or to an LLC. I mean, there's different ways to slice this, but just be open to that idea that I got to become more nimble. I got to be able to move fast. I got to be able to. So that may require a restructuring of your business and governance. So there you have it. Those are the 6 steps I wanted to share with you to help you prepare for this pandemic. For this post-pandemic economy. There is a post-pandemic economy that is emerging as we speak. There will be winners in that economy, and there'll be losers. What we need to do, beloved, is make sure and do the best that we can to make sure that we are one of the winners, right? And that's what this session tonight is all about, giving you tools to help you to do things to make sure that your business is a winner in the new economy. So a closing case study, Kendrick, now I'll take some Q&A. So you guys, I'm sure you've heard about the comparison of the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. I think 100 million people died during that time all over the world. I mean, it was horrible, horrible time for the world. But here's the question, my closing question for you. Tell me, what do you think was the most successful business that emerged from the Spanish flu pandemic? What business sector, what industry do you think really took off during this pandemic flu of 1918? So think about it and then write your answers into the chat, Kendrick.
Immediately, Kevin says pharmaceuticals. We got healthcare, medical, health or insurance, health, technology, cars, real estate, food, health, manufacturing, healthcare and sanitation, alcohol, automobile.
There you go. The biggest one, someone just said it, right? The most successful one was alcohol sales, the sale of alcohol, right? That was in terms of growth, in terms of success during that era. The most successful business sector was the sale of alcohol. Okay.
And you ain't talking about rubbing alcohol, right?
Not rubbing alcohol. That's right, Kendrick. They're not. No. I mean, it was people were trying to relieve their pain and suffering. So that was, you're right. Whoever said that was the #1 business that grew out of that crisis and that pandemic. And the other ones did well too, but that one was one I wanted to share. So what's the call to action I have for you? Here's my call to action. Here's what I want you to do. Number one, I want you to, as a result of our time together tonight, I want you to commit to pivot. I want you to commit to pivot in your businesses. I want you to commit to saying, I'm going to look at different ways and different things and different customers that I can grab onto and make part of my ecosystem. I want you to commit to that. And then secondly, call to action. I want you to hold your leaders accountable, right? I want you to hold, one of the things I did, I chaired a commission. I think, Ron, you may have been on it, I'm not sure, but for Mayor Stephanie Blake. And she asked me to chair a commission to look at how the city of Baltimore could be more inviting for small minority businesses. And I came up with a couple of things on the commission. We had a great group of people and leaders. But the one thing I recommended, said, Madam Mayor, is that your leaders in government have to be accountable to the small business community. You got to be accountable, right? In Baltimore government, it seems like business is a problem, that businesses are problems to be dealt with versus celebrated. And I don't understand that culture, that logic. And one of the ways that you show you value is, for those of you who work in the city or who work for city government on city contracts, is I said, it's very simple, Madam Mayor, just pay your vendors on time. Pay them on time. I mean, Baltimore has one of the most atrocious reputations for not paying their vendors on time. So hold leaders accountable, right? And then the third call to action is, we need to be talking like this on a regular basis. Not just with me, but with other people who have ideas, who are thought leaders. We need to be exchanging these ideas on a regular basis, guys. So we need to have that happen for us on an ongoing basis. So my request to you, my call to action for you are these three things. And I think that's very doable for the group here. So at this point, Kendrick, I will take some questions and be glad to share my thoughts further. Thank you all very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Wow, Dr. Wallace, we appreciate you so much. We need some structure to the questions. So if you have a question, please put the number. If you see you're the first person to ask a question, put the number and then your question in the chat, and then we'll call you in that order so we can have some structure to how we deliver the questions. And I'm seeing in the chat right now, thank you, Dr. Wallace, powerful, insightful. Thank you for sharing. So I think Charles has the first question. If you want to type that.
Kendrick, this is Curtis. Let me add one thing, Kendrick. So we have about 10 minutes for questions. So just please be graceful with us because if we do have to interrupt you, it's only because we're trying to move the questions along.
Thanks, Curtis.
So Kendrick, go ahead.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Wallace, this is Charles Jones with CMS Jones Group. I do have a quick question in regards to your run for mayor, and I would like to know how will you cut through the noise of running outside of the Democratic machine that has been with the voters of Baltimore for so long. As you know, Baltimore is very democratic city.
Yes, sir. That is the biggest challenge that we have. I think two things, sir. Three things maybe is first of all, put a mirror up tell folks to look in the mirror, right? Or take the city and look at it as a mirror and ask yourself, are you better off? You've had 50 years of Democratic leadership in Baltimore City. Are you better off now than you were, back then? That's the first question I ask people. Are you better off? Are you happy with the direction that we're going in? The second question, are you happy with where we're going? If you are, then I say, then keep the same people, right? What I'm trying to offer to people, sir, is a value proposition that is so compelling to have a mayor that is focused on business and job creation for the people of Baltimore. Because I believe that we can build an economy that is sustainable, that's robust, and that can provide jobs, particularly in the African-American community. We're looking at my platform. I'm saying I'm going to create 100,000 jobs in my first term for Baltimore City, and that's big. That's a big job, and it ain't easy. But that's what we need to do. Because think about it, folks. If we fix the economy in the city, we will fix the poverty, which drives the crime, which drives the violence, which drives the reputation of our city that prevents businesses from coming in and investing in Baltimore. That provides tax revenue that we can build our schools and educate our children. That provides money to build parks and to have a quality of life in the city. It's all driven by business and by job creation. And so, sir, that's my value proposition. That's my argument. And I'm saying, hey, you know, give me a shot to make the city better. You've already seen what you're getting for 50 years. You know, there's an old saying that says, if you always do what you've always done, then you will always get what you've always gotten. That's simple. And so I offer a different vision, a different view, and I hope, sir, that the people of Baltimore City will see that. And the primary election that we just went through is, you look at who's going to win, it's probably Dixon. She's probably going to get maybe 28% of the Democratic vote. That means, though, that 72% of the Democrats wanted somebody else. Think about that. So that leaves room for an independent person to come in, I think, and show a new way for the city. Curtis, I'm sorry, long answer. Sorry, Curtis.
That's right. Go ahead, Kendrick.
Got it. And with that, we'll definitely bring you back, Dr. Wallace, to have that platform to speak with all of the candidates when we get to that point. So we want to make sure all of our questions are focused on pivoting your business. And I think our number 2 was from Tasha. Did I see number 2 from Tasha Weary is on the line?
Hey, Tasha.
Her question was, what is your method for advancing the processes for business owners that want to do business within Baltimore, but are shut out because they are not from Baltimore? Are you willing to change the politics from the good old boy network?
So when I'm mayor, the answer is yes, that will change. Now, even if I'm not mayor, the solution to that is you've got to get a sponsor. Whenever you have a closed environment like Baltimore City, and you're right, Tasha, it is, you've got to find a sponsor who's already in that system, who will sponsor you into that system. It's almost impossible to break into it on your own. But if you have a sponsor that's already in the system that can bring you in as part of their team and part of their process, you can break through that window and have an opportunity to show on your own what you can do. We have brought in a number of companies into Baltimore City, and we sponsored them into the city on contracts. So find a contract, Tasha, that you can partner with somebody who's already in the city, and then come on that team, do a great job. And that's how, in my view, you break into that environment. But when I'm mayor, all that will change. But I will tell you, when I'm mayor, that businesses that are in the city will get a priority than businesses who are not in the city, who are physically in the city.
Thank you for that question, Tasha. Next, we had Derek, who says, Dr. Wallace, with technology and information readily available via the internet, is it still viable and economically efficient to obtain a traditional brick and mortar?
No. That's a great question. I love that question. And the answer is no. If I were doing this today, given what I know now, I would avoid the brick and mortar expense, unless your business model can leverage having that brick and mortar situation. We purchased our headquarters in Baltimore City 16 years ago, right? Our situation was, it was a financial play. We wanted to own our headquarters and then use that ownership as leverage, right, to get more funding to fund the business. And that's why we did it. But if I were doing it today, I would do the California Silicon Valley model, right? The technology is such, depending upon what your business is, you don't need a brick and mortar model. The remote working, we've shown now our society has that it can work. We've got the infrastructure with 5G coming on board, and we got it's in place. So no, sir, no, ma'am. I would not, if you don't have to do it, I would not do it. I would not do it. I would not incur that cost at this point. Great question.
Wonderful answer. And this next question comes from Howard White, all the way from Louisiana. Thank you for being here. Baton Rouge, that is.
I love that place.
This question is, what are some next 2 to 3 practical steps that small business can thrive coming out of this pandemic?
3 steps. So number 1 is look at the emerging industries that are coming as a result of this pandemic, right? Things like cleaning services, virus detection systems, tools that allow people to social distance. If you're into apps or software, I mean, all different opportunities to create apps and software that will help people to identify and to catalog people who are sick versus people who are not sick. You want to leap to something that is close to what is your base skill set, right? So you want to, when you leap to a new beachhead, it's always better to leap to something that is close to what you already do. For example, when we got into the energy business, as you guys know, we started in the IT business, and we still do IT services. But when we got in the energy business, our leap into energy was around energy data analytics. Now, what does that mean? It means that I can take IT guys and gals who know IT, and I can plant them in an energy environment, or energy services environment, where their skill set is now mapped to an energy problem versus a cybersecurity problem or a database problem. Same skill set, different customer, different industry. So, sir, I guess it's a guy, I'm not sure, but ma'am, so that pivot has to be one that's close to what you already do. And then the third thing I said, as I said in the office, search out now for partners. Look in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, look for companies that you can work with that can help you move fast into a new sector, or to expand your existing sector. And what I have found for most businesses, pardon me, most entrepreneurs are open, decent people. And most of them, if you ask for help, if they can do it, they will do it. So you have to ask, and you got to be humble in order to accept that help.
That was a great answer and good nugget for you all to pick up. Strategic partnerships are definitely something that we highly recommend here at the Chamber. So I have a question before I get to Mr. Burnett's next question. Is that as the president of this organization, I talk to a lot of people. And one young lady talked to me last year. She said, Kendrick, I'm going to support you because you're the president of the Chamber, but I don't do business in Baltimore because people in Baltimore do business. I said, what is business? She said, Kendrick, you do business, but a lot of people in Baltimore do business, and you know what that is. So my question to you is, how do you decipher? Because I mean, even in my small 10 years of being as an entrepreneur, if someone came to me as a strategic partner and said, hey, Kendrick, I do this. And in basketball terms, if I throw them the alley-oop and they miss the dunk, they make us both look bad. Or if I throw the alley-oop and they're not even looking at the pass, they're doing something else. They're not even paying attention. I just threw them the ball that could have changed the game. So I think my question is around what would be your top 1 or 2 notions or red flags to say I won't or will do business with this partner?
Well, I think that past performance is always a good indicator. See, it's kind of like our mom and daddies taught us, right? And they taught us, do what you say you're going to do and do it consistently. That's how you build trust. So the key thing, Kendrick, is with people, because, you know, a lot of people talk, you know, they talk a lot, but very little action. And so you start with, Kendrick, a small, low risk test of that potential partnership. I call it in the book, I call it the Alpha Project. Look for an Alpha Project. And what is the Alpha Project? It is a small project that's low risk, low capital, that gives you an opportunity, right, to test the potential partner, right? To test if they do what they say they're going to do, to test if they really have the skill set that they say they do. And then you engage with them in that small Alpha Project. From that Alpha Project, you will learn if that person's real or not, right? And then if they're not, then you politely move on. You don't make a fuss, you don't get, you just politely move on, because there are enough people out there to dance with and to date with. You don't need to be fretting over a particular company or person. Once you learn that it's not a good thing, you move on and you do that. But you start small, Ken. You start small, but you think big. And you start with the Alpha Project to give you that data that tells you, yeah, this is a good. And there's some cases too, folks, where you meet somebody or meet a company and your instinct, your gut just tells you, man, this is good. This feels good. This is gonna be, and you listen to your instinct. And I do that. I listen to my instinct. There's some people I meet and my instinct says, warning, 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 stay away, right? Listen to that voice inside to give you that guidance.
That was definitely the answer I wanted to hear. because I've learned, even though that there are times where the alley-oop was thrown and it was missed, I still had to tell myself that as African Americans, we are only 3 generations in when it comes to entrepreneurship. Our counterparts are 17 generations in when it comes to entrepreneurship. And so I always say that when things like that happen, don't write off the Black community. Don't write off that business. Dr. Wallace said it so perfectly. Don't exploit them to say, oh, you missed the dunk. I can't believe you did that. You can quietly pull them to the side, and we want them all to grow and be better. But now we know we had to do business with a partner that can be efficient and execute on the things that they said they can execute. So with that, I see only one last question as we wrap to the close. I'll give it to Curtis after I do this last question, which is from Derek, that says, our community's problem has been we place politics over economics, civil rights over silver rights.
Yes, sir.
How can we help you on your campaign?
Oh boy, that is a great question, Derek. And Derek, you're right on the money, Derek. People ask me, why am I running as an independent and versus the Democrat or Republican, right? So Republicans historically, now Trump has really changed all that now, but historically, Republicans were driven around, self-improvement, economic development, job creation. Democrats tend to focus on human capital development, workforce development and social programs and all that. All those are good. All those are necessary. What's missing in the equation in Baltimore and our region is what Derek said, is that we have not historically valued the entrepreneurs and the businessmen and women in our community, right? And we treat them like they're a burden to us in our society. And that culture has to change. And I think, Derek, that's not going to happen until we get change at the top. So what can you do? Number one, you guys can go to WallacefOrMayor.com. You can provide me, I need your prayer, first of all. I need your ideas. I need you to donate. I need you to be involved. I'm trying to build a movement here in Baltimore City that's going to be driven by entrepreneurs and businesswomen and businessmen that want to change this city. And it's not going to happen until the leadership changes. And that's why I told people, the government needs to be disrupted, but we all know as entrepreneurs, disruption always comes from the outside, never from within. So if you're talking about changing the city, you got to bring in men and women like you guys and gals. You got to bring you guys in because you're disruptors. And you're going to come in and you're going to see this stuff and you say, this is crazy. We can do better than this. And that's how change occurs. So Derek, those are the things I need. I need prayer. I need ideas. I need contributions to donate. I need you to be engaged. If you got ideas, particularly around job creation, I want to hear from you. I want to know about it, because that's what we need to do. Think about it, folks. If we can build an economy in Baltimore that will lift, that will create jobs, that will help our least educated members of our community, boy, how that would change Baltimore almost overnight. So that's what I'm about. I'm about economic development. I'm about empowering entrepreneurs. I'm about creating a new economy in our city that not only benefits the rich and powerful, but benefits those who are working class and who want decent jobs, but just need an opportunity. That's what my vision is.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wallace. I want to give everybody a chance to unmute yourself so we can properly give Dr. Wallace a hand there. And then I'll remute you, and then we'll go into the business spotlight. So unmute yourself and just give him a big thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Phenomenal job. Incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what we're going to, absolutely. This is the most fun I've had in a minute. So in a while. So this has been it's been great. So what I want to do is I want to pivot to another. What I want to do is give two of our businesses an opportunity to present as a business spotlight. We do this every meeting where we choose one or two businesses to spotlight as members of the chamber, to give them a little more time to share what they do. I'm going to mute everybody for a second. And then, so we chose two businesses this month, specifically around this topic. One of the businesses, Gap Tax Services, DMV, is Nikita Lee. She's a brand new member. She's already out recruiting other members. I've already had one or two people join before she was in her first meeting. So taxes are important right now because people are preparing to respond to the resources that are available to them, but they have to have their documentation in order. So we'll give her a chance to speak, and following her, we'll have Charmaine Davis, and you all know Charmaine. And Charmaine has Hartford Business Center, and she's transitioning from taxes into more business development. So it's a good sort of tag team. So Nikita, you have 5 or so minutes to share with us what you do as a business owner.
Okay, thank you, Curtis. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nikita Kwankan, formerly Nikita Lee. I may go back to it one day, we'll see. But I am the managing partner of Gap Tax Services, DMV. Gap Tax Services is a 12-year-old tax company, and so this is actually our first year here. We have locations in Alexandria, and then we also provide virtual services here in Baltimore. But just this week, we were able to have a strategic partnership, an alliance that was created, and so it looks like we'll have our physical location in Federal Hill within the next 2 weeks. So that's been a blessing. But I just wanted to, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so this is just my information here so that you all know and you know how to contact us. So we are located in the DC, Maryland area. But we do service people all over the country as well. So some of the services that we provide, we do individual and business tax preparation. Those are our primary things that we do. We also assist businesses and people as well in 501c3 and 501c4 creation. We help folks to create their LLC, ZIN, and we also provide notary and e-notary services and some additional things here that you see as your businesses grow. And then also we do have some strategic partnerships that are in place as well. So something that I wanted to even just share with our company, we are less than 1 year old. We did get the Paycheck Protection Program loan being a business that had actually been in business for less than a year. And one of the things that we're doing as well is creating those strategic partnerships where a partner, even the other day, we were able to work that out where he had extra space. And so in that, he has a whole other office that he's not even using. And so my business will be able to be there in Baltimore, and that's additional advertising for his business. And it's also free advertising for my company as well. So, you know, I heard Mr. Wallace talk about building those strategic partnerships, and I thank you for that, Mr. Wallace. It lets me know, I guess, in the first year, I must be moving in the right direction. So, you know, when you say take action, just taking action and moving. So these are things that we do assist businesses with throughout the country in creating. As I said, we did receive our Paycheck Protection Program loan as well, and we are helping businesses as well in preparing their 2019 taxes and their first quarter tax documents. Now, we are not applying for you at this time because unless we are an agent with the bank, no one, and I just want to make sure that you all know that as well as business owners, that legally no one can charge you to apply for your Paycheck Protection Program loan. So if someone is charging you, or if you applied and they charged, legally they are not supposed to do that. As tax preparers, accountants, tax lawyers, our fee, if we do apply on your behalf, is supposed to come from the bank. That is not supposed to come from you as the business owner. So I do want to make sure that you all know that. And then also we have Harbor Bank right here in Baltimore that I just spoke with Mr. Lewis and Stan on yesterday, and they've given out $40 million so far. And I know that they have a ton more money left. So they are looking for businesses to apply, especially black businesses, okay? Black and brown businesses. And I will tell you that I have a lot of people from like the Middle Eastern communities and stuff like that that don't look like us, who are now asking, hey, do you know banks that still have money for this PPP, and I need to apply? And so I've kind of been pushing them off because I want, you know, more Black business owners to apply to be able to get this money. So if there's some of you who really are afraid, don't even know where to start, or you even have questions like, should I even be looking at this? And what are some additional things that we can do? Feel free to contact us. We are able to help you with your tax documents so that you're able to apply for those Paycheck Protection Program loans. So I'm just saying, apply now, and apply now. So for anyone who needs like their individual taxes or business taxes, anything like that, feel free to let me know. And this as well is my contact information. So hopefully that's my 5 minutes.
Well,
thank you all so much.
Nikita, just one point of clarification.
Okay.
Are you saying that when people do apply for the loan, you can charge them for doing the work to prepare them for it, but not charge them for actually applying for the loan itself? Is that correct?
Correct. So when you apply for the Paycheck Protection Program loan, there are tax documents that they want, especially if you've been if you're older than a year, they want your 2019 tax returns. They also want to see your first quarter. They want to see, even if you haven't turned them in, that they've been prepared. So they want those documents as well for the first quarter of 2020. And then for those of you that are running payroll, you may have a payroll service. We were blessed to start using ADP really quickly. I think that helped us as well to be able to show that we were running a payroll as well. But there are other ways too. If you don't have like a payroll system, there are different things that you can do to show that you are paying contractors or paying yourself from the business. But one of the things I've seen a lot of businesses run into is people are applying, but you'll find that they have a business, but they're using a personal bank account. And so you want to make sure to get a Paycheck Protection Program loan, you have to have a business bank account. The great thing is with some of these community banks that still have money, you can open a bank account with them right now. And so, and to be able to apply. So that's the thing I'd love to encourage folks to who may not have those business accounts open.
Good. And so that's a great segue to Charmaine. And so I want to take questions for both presenters after Charmaine speaks. And just to mention, Charmaine, I asked Charmaine to do this about an hour before we started, and she graciously agreed. I have a way of putting her on the spot. So Charmaine, thank you for agreeing to, speak without a lot of notice. But if you, we'd like to hear about your about Harvard Business Center.
Excellent. And it sounds like this was a great segue from Dr. Wallace and Nikita, because both of them speak to things that are near and dear to my heart. First, with Nikita doing taxes, I've been doing taxes probably 15 plus years. And where Dr. Wallace mentioned during this crisis, this time of sitting still, I've realized I wanted to transition from just doing the taxes and really help develop businesses, and particularly Black businesses. I saw, I had the pleasure of going to a couple of legislative events, and I realized it was a big gap from our Black business community to government. It's a lot of opportunity, it's some opportunities out there and some legislation that needs improvement. But I think our Black businesses have to be in position and financially, strategically. So that has been my shift in what I do here at Harvard Business Center. I had a previous role with the Greater Baltimore Urban League. Develop from the idea phase to scaling up to the next level. So it just, I feel like I am continuing that journey and to really support our Black businesses, especially in this time of the COVID-19.
So Charmaine, how do we reach you if you want to do business with you? Because I could use your help myself. So,
so I put my email on the chat. So it's sdavis@harvardbusinesscenter.com, and I can also leave my phone number. And let me not neglect to say that I'm also a tax manager at Abrams, Foster, Nolan, Williams. So I'm still knee deep in accounting and consulting. So there are many avenues, and I'll be more than happy to share all of my contact information.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. So Kendrick, do you have any questions for Charmaine or Nikita? Or is anyone putting any questions in?
I really wanted to pose a question to everyone because I want to really make sure that networking is not our goal. It's relationship building and capacity building. So with that, I want everybody to put what you do in the chat and your contact information if you haven't already done so. Because at the beginning, I asked for your sign-in sheet. So if you didn't submit your contact information, even if you did, because we'll save this chat and this will be a file. We'll save the file of the whole Zoom presentation, so you'll get that, especially if you're a member of the chamber. Dr. Wallace, there was a question about your presentation specifically. So if it's okay, if you could send that to us so we can send that to our members. I couldn't answer that until you agreed to send us the presentation. If that was
back to you on that, Kendrick.
Could you hear me?
Okay, wait a minute. I may have muted you. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get back to you on that?
Yep.
Okay. I did have a question for Ms. Davis.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Davis, Mark Morial and I together at Penn. And we're also fraternity brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, a question for you, Ms. Davis. One of the things that I'm trying to implement as mayor is to put together a Marshall Plan, if you will, a big plan to economically develop, particularly working class African American communities. I know the Urban League has been talking about that for a long time. Are there any plans in place, Ms. Davis, to do that for the Urban League?
So you mentioned a big number of 100,000 jobs, so it's not of that scale.
Okay.
So what the Urban League was my role at the Urban League was working with entrepreneurs and small business.
Okay.
I do know National Urban League has a huge push with workforce development, And they've merged different partnerships throughout the U.S. with different big corporations. And one that comes to mind is Comcast, where it was training a lot of the entry-level labor work. Baltimore did not get any of those funds, but I do know some of those funds were available. So there are, Mark Mario, as you know, he's very resourceful and he's great at building partnerships with a lot of these larger corporations. So yeah, it's been an ongoing, but I don't know of anything specifically in Baltimore.
Is there a white paper or some type on this that you know of?
I can make a couple calls and find out.
Okay, all right, I appreciate it.
If I can get I'll get your contact information, because I would love to hear more about your economic development plan with the job creation. I do agree. I think that is a great strategy, but I would just add one more piece is the education. We have to upgrade our education standards within Baltimore City, but that's another topic.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So Kendrick, we have a few more minutes for a few more questions.
Okay, I noticed that everyone is starting to put into the chat what you do and how to contact you. I believe everyone should, at the bottom of that, it should be something that says file or 3 dots. You can actually click that and save the chat to your computer. So I want to make sure everyone can do that and does that before we shut down the Zoom. And
I would like to make a comment before we do, if that's I don't want to cut anybody off, but I was on mute, and I wanted to just emphasize that we've talked about workforce development, and we've talked about partnerships and identifying the alpha partners, but I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, if we didn't talk about the equation of developing our businesses, our Black-owned businesses, that capacity building piece, and making sure that is an integral part of the economic development, because where the chamber will be looking at, we're looking at partnerships, strategic partnerships to help our Black businesses build capacity so that we can do business in a better light, more competitive. So I didn't hear enough of that. I didn't hear any emphasis on that. And so I just wanted to make sure that, we are keeping our eye on that, because that's what, that's a very important piece of the Chamber's mission.
Absolutely.
Okay? Economic empowerment without business development doesn't, to do business at the scale that we need to have things in place to help those businesses grow and be ready for these partnerships.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. Great point.
Sure is.
Yeah. And so, Kendrick, I think you have one more question, and then we can transition to member announcements and 30-second pitches.
I missed the last question. Was there another question I missed? I think I covered all of them.
Maybe not.
The PPP rules from the U.S. Department of Treasury, and it does include information on the pay loan forgiveness. So I know that that's something that's going to be coming up soon. Everyone who has, received a PPP loan will have questions about the loan forgiveness piece. And so we want to hold a special information session on how to navigate through that process. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we'll be, including the information on the website and getting that information out and helping to digest it. I just wanted to make sure that folks knew that.
Okay, great. We have about 13 minutes or so before 8:30. So Kendrick, how would you like to close it out?
Honestly, I didn't think we had time enough for everyone on the call to speak. It's still 33 people. So even at 30 seconds, that's still about 15, 20 minutes of talking. So I just wanted to get everybody's contact information and what they do into the chat, and to allow everyone to download that file to their computer, although we will send it out as a chamber. But I wanted you to take advantage, and if someone that can hear me, write the chamber's website and put that in the chat as well. We ask all those guests that aren't members to join us as official chamber members. Of course, our mission is to help grow Black businesses. So you are a Black business and you are a part of our mission. However, when you join, that helps us bring in those professionals like a Dr. Wallace. It helps us to have our virtual events that we're looking to partner with Mr. Howard, who may be still on the line with his Hop-In platform. And so I want to make sure that it doesn't go beyond said that we want you to join as a paid member, and to be able to click on to that link if it's in the chat already at the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber.org. So thank everyone for coming out. If you are open to doing introductions, I think that I've held you all enough. We've held you all enough, and I think this is it's been a powerful meeting. I love every single person that's on here. I know you all personally, so I think that we will focus on sending out the link. Thank you, Kevin. It was an awesome meeting. We'll send that link out so that you actually have this Zoom call. And I know that my membership committee may fight me on this. So if you're not a paid member, I would love for you to just join tonight so that I don't have to fight my membership committee about sending everybody the contact information as well as the meeting that we have experienced tonight. So with that, I would rather end early. Thank you. My mic pops a little bit. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that I'll keep it away from my mouth. It should be clean audio. A whole CNN studio in here, as you see the green screen behind me. So I think that to me it's about it. Thank you, Howard, for sending your information as well. Thank you for being here all the way from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So of course we practice what we preach. So we have strategic partnerships within the state of Maryland, and we have strategic partnerships outside the state of Maryland that look like us. And so we want to make sure that the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce is also connected as a member of the U.S. Black Chamber, as a partner of the Maryland Black Chamber, and as the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce covering Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Howard County, and Harford County. So we welcome all of our members, and think of how much power that impacts when we have members who represent elected officials in those different areas, that we can actually get legislation passed that can impact us as business owners in the future. So I think with that, everyone should have been able to put in that information. And no worries, I'm a public person. So thank you all. And if Curtis, you want to close us out, because I want to thank you for bringing Dr. Wallace to us and just being an awesome treasurer. I want to thank all of our board members. I want to thank our board chair, because she just stepped up on technology. I love all of our seasoned entrepreneurs who have stepped up on technology. And thank you for our Vice President, Lindsay, for keeping that thought in my mind. So I actually went live today on our Instagram and brought a couple members here to see us. With that, I want to pass it over to our treasurer, and I'll let you close it out, Curtis.
Okay, so thanks, Kendrick. So I want to close out by really thanking our leaders, both Kendrick and Deborah. You guys don't know how hard they work to make these things happen, keeping all of these balls in the air. And so I just want to take this opportunity to ask everyone that's a part of membership to join our committees, to support the board, do everything that we can do to make their jobs easier. That's really where we're going to have, the biggest breakthrough in the power of this organization, to free them up to lead the organization while we handle the day-to-day details in terms of managing the day-to-day operation of the organization. So thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Kendrick, and thank everyone for being a part of what we're up to.
Okay, thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all for joining tonight. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Curtis, can you stay on? And Deborah, can you stay on for a couple minutes?
Yes.
Sure.